Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in part 6 of What If Jackie Chan was in W.I.T.C.H. Link in the description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Pleasure cruise. Jackie and Jade were at the docks as the archaeologist was overseeing a transfer of a large and valuable artifact towards a cargo ship. Slowly, Jackie told the forklift driver as he was carrying a box with a large golden dragon statue towards the ship. The museum will be very pleased to hear the golden dragon will return to Hong Kong. Earth to Jackie, it's going to London. Jade stated, this is the Atlantic Ocean, not the Pacific. Those in Hong Kong felt it best for the statue to take a detour. Jackie explained, first, it was transferred all the way here from San Francisco, then it'll be shipped to London via boat, before taking a flight to Hong Kong and finally arriving at its destination. Yesh, overkill much? Jade questioned. I know it's a large dragon made out of solid gold and all, but seriously. Maintaining security has been incredibly difficult. Jackie continued to explain. There were at least 3 attempts to steal it, even en route here to Heatherfield. Make that 4. Jade pointed toward an incoming helicopter, causing Jackie to gasp as he saw the helicopter had a hook via a cable that extend downward from its bottom. The hook was just about to latch onto the box containing the golden dragon, but Jackie suddenly leapt onto the box to kick the hook back. Quickly, he told the forklift driver, who drove away as fast as he could with the precious cargo, as well as Jackie still on top. Jackie! Jade called out in alarm as the helicopter flew back in for another attempt, but instead of the artifact, it snagged Jackie by the back of his belt and began to pull him away. However, completely unbeknownst to Jackie and Jade, the pilot of the helicopter was none other than the deadly martial artist known as Hawk Fu. He saw on the screen of the helicopter that Jackie was hooked, much to his surprise. Chan! Hawk Fu exclaimed before he growled. However, Hawk Fu noticed the tall buildings in the city before an idea came to mind. Black tiger scrapes gum off shoe. Hawk Fu exclaimed as he flew the helicopter higher towards a tall building, attempting to smash and/or scrape Jackie off the helicopter. Jackie saw the building he was heading toward and realized what the helicopter's pilot was attempting to do. Bad day. He quickly unbuckled his belt and began to fall. Bad die. Fortunately, he fell close toward the building and was able to grab onto a flagpole to avoid an otherwise fatal fall. Jackie gave a sigh as he saw the helicopter fly away, but his relief turned into fear as the flagpole couldn't support his weight and fell off the side of the building. It would have been a very hard landing, but Jackie was able to grab one end of the flag and hold onto it and the pole as the flag itself acted similar to a parachute and slowed Jackie's descent, where he was able to land safely on the ground, much to the confusion of the citizens around him. The elevator is too slow, Jackie laughed nervously. Uncle's rare finds. While Jackie would see to a change in plans in regard to the golden dragon, Jade returned to her uncle's shop where she told all her friends, even Yan Lin, what had happened while Toru and a reluctant Caleb were helping Uncle with inventory. Cantoni vases? Uncle asked as he held an abacus. 8, Sensei. Toru responded while Caleb counted chopsticks on a mat on the floor. You guys should have seen me. Jade said to the other girls. Rescuing the dragon. Chasing off the bad guys. Really? You chased them off? By yourself? Will questioned almost skeptically with a playful tone in her voice. Well, I mean Uncle Jackie helped too. Jade responded. And by that, I think you mean he did all the work, right? Irma joked. Wish we could have been there. Hey Lin said. It would have been fun to see. It'd be more fun to beat them up ourselves. Cornelia stated. Now, girls. Yan Lin said. I know how much fun it seems being a guardian, but we should leave normal villains to people like the police. Well, I mean we did fight the Dark Hand, and they're pretty normal. Terani pointed out. The Dark Hand had magic talismans, so I wouldn't count them as normal. Will replied. Less talk. Uncle busy counting. Uncle told the girls as he turned to Caleb. How many chopsticks? Looks like 15, ow. Caleb felt his forehead where Uncle delivered his titular dope slap. 15. Chopsticks always come in pairs. Count again. Caleb groaned. I don't see why I have to do inventory in some old shop. Uncle has zero free loader policy. Uncle stated. You want to stay in Uncle's shop, then Rebel Boy must work. It's either here, or at Grandma's restaurant. Your pick. Haylin teased playfully as Caleb sighed in exhaustion. So, what happened to that dragon thing anyway? We'll ask Jade. Thanks to Uncle Jackie and it's loaded up and heading for. No, it's not Jade. Jackie interrupted as he had just entered the shop. The cargo ship was not a secure enough transport. The museum decided that with the thieves still at large, the Golden Dragon will instead travel to London on the last place anyone would think to look, a cruise ship. I will accompany it. You're going on a cruise while we're stuck here? Cornelia questioned. Lucky. Yeah, that's a real 11 on the suck-o-meter. Irma grunted as well. Yes, the only problem is, Section 13 pulled some strings to help give me 10 tickets. Jackie said in a playful manner. What am I going to do with the extra 9? That seemed to get the attention of all 6 girls. Wait, Uncle Jackie, are you saying? Jade asked with a smile, to which Jackie only responded with a smile and a nod, which was all the confirmation the girls needed. We're going on a cruise. Will exclaimed with a wide grin. Seriously. Irma also exclaimed excitedly. First you volunteered to chaperonage for our school's ski trip, now this. Terraini was about as excited as everyone else. Premium spot treatment, here I come. Cornelia was just as excited as well. Thank you so much, Uncle Jackie. Haylin exclaimed as she wrapped her arms around him in the form of a hug. Jackie laughed. I figured that with all the stress you've been dealing with recently, you could use a break. I already called each of your parents, and they agreed on the condition that I bring more than a few chaperones than just myself. Miss Lin will be joining us as well. Ah, well, aren't you a sweet boy? Yan Lin teased as she playfully pinched Jackie's cheek. I can't wait to stretch out these old bones with some shuffleboarding. Caleb, Uncle, and Toru will be joining us as well. Jackie revealed. Bah, Uncle does not cruise. Uncle does inventory. Uncle protested. What exactly is a cruise, anyway? Caleb asked. It's basically a party boat where you relax and take a vacation. Irma explained. Oh wait, you probably don't have vacations in Meridian, do you? She joked. I know what a vacation is. Caleb protested. I just don't feel like I should take one, considering Phobos is still ruling over Meridian, and his right-hand snake is here still looking for the heir. Jade gave a slight scoff. Just tell your pals to hide out in the Infinite City. I mean, that place is literally endless and Phobos has no idea where it is. And while we are away, Captain Black will keep an eye on things here. Jackie assured Caleb. We already have a few locations narrowed down to where we believe Cedric may be hiding. See, Caleb, they got this covered. Cornelia told him. Come on, you've been fighting for your life for years. I think you deserve at least one weekend to relax and not worry about fighting. Caleb sighed as they had reasonable points. He even saw a look in Cornelia's eyes that was slightly pleading that he should join them, and that seemed enough to convince him. Alright, I suppose I could use some time off. This caused Cornelia to smile, while the other girls had knowing smirks on their faces. $10 says she's gonna go all Titanic with him. Will whispered to Terraini. Oh definitely. Terraini whispered back as the both snickered. Rebel Boy can go, but Uncle will stay. The old Kai wizard insisted. Jin, when was the last time you took the time to relax on a real vacation? Yan Lin asked him. Uncle went to his abacus. Let me see, 3, 4, carry the 1, never. So why start now? I'm fine with him staying. Cornelia said, only to get elbowed slightly by Will. Oh, come on Uncle, it's gonna be wicked fun. Jade said to the old man. It wouldn't be a real vacation without the whole family. Please Uncle. Haylin put on a pair of puppy dog eyes along with Jade. Ah Jin, how can you resist these faces? Yan Lin teased as Jade and Haylin continued with their puppy dog eyes. Aiya, puppy dog pout gets Uncle every time. He sighed in reluctance. Fine, I'll go. Yes. Jade pumped her fist. God help us all. Cornelia grumbled. I will stay here, Toru said as he began to pick up a box and walk away. Okay, I get the old guy doesn't wanna go, but why you? Irma asked as she and the other girls walked in front of him. I mean swimming pools, whale watching, all the shrimp you can eat, Haylin began to list. I don't like seafood. Toru pointed out. Well, there's also pizza, burgers, hot dogs, and ice cream. Will added. I cannot travel on a ship. I get seasick, Toru admitted, much to the girl's surprise. Oh, well, that sucks. Irma said in sympathy. You don't strike me as the type to get seasick. Cornelia told Toru. You know there is medicine you can take for that. Terani said. I have tried. Nothing helps. Toru replied. Jade began to think before an idea popped into her head and she snapped her fingers. Maybe not traditional medicine. Uncle Jackie, could we pop over the Section 13 and borrow the horse talisman? What? Jackie did not expect that sort of request. Hey yeah, that'd be perfect. Hey Lin exclaimed. We could cure his seasickness. I mean if the talisman can heal broken bones and even cure diseases, it could definitely work with something like that. Terani seemed to agree. Girls, the talismans are too dangerous, Jackie tried to protest. Yeah, maybe the dragon, pig, or ox ones. Irma responded. But how is the horse dangerous? You literally can't hurt anyone with that one. In fact, it does the opposite of hurting. Cornelia pointed out. Jackie, I know you're always saying we have to take this whole magic thing responsibly. Will began, but this to help a friend enjoy some time off. And like they said, the horse talisman heals, it can't do anything dangerous. I promise it's the only one we're gonna need, we won't take any of the others. Please Uncle Jackie. Jade pleaded. Jackie saw the fair points each of them made and acknowledged that in the short time each of them have been guardians, they were already starting to act very responsible, even Jade was beginning to mature quite a bit. So, he decided to agree. Alright, he said, resulting in smiles from all the girls. Yes, Jade and Lin both exclaimed at the same time. But only the horse talisman. Jackie insisted. We promise. Will smiled. Looks like you're going with us after all, big guy. Irma playfully nudged Toru, who could only smile, actually being excited to go on a cruise and not puke his guts out for once. Meanwhile, at a junkyard in Heatherfield, Valmont sat at a desk as he was currently holding auditions for new henchmen to join him in rebuilding the Dark Hand. But so far, all the applicants he met have been less than promising, to put it mildly. A pair of female gymnasts flipped in the air, jumping from junk pile to junk pile. So far, they seemed pretty talented. That is until they cartwheeled into each other and landed on the ground in failure. Next, Valmont brushed off. Up next was a man dressed in rodeo-type gear, with a whip, surrounded by multiple lit candles. He attempted to snap all the flames out with his whip, but only got himself tangled in his own whip before failing over. Next, Valmont ordered. The last one appeared to be a large heavyweight boxer. Using his fists alone, he punched a broken down fridge and crushed it with only a few punches. Valmont seemed impressed at first, that is until the freezer door fell off and a bee flew around the boxer. Get away. Get away. He seemed quite terrified of the tiny insect, much to Valmont's frustration as he simply slid his hand down his face. Master. Hawk Fu ran onto the scene. Ah, the black tiger returns. Valmont acknowledged. But where is the golden dragon? There was a complication. Chan was there, Hawk Fu revealed, and that alone was more than enough to get Valmont angry as simply threw the table he was at to the side in rage. Unbelievable. How is that I, Valmont, mastermind of the Dark Hand, one of the most influential criminal syndicates in history, has been reduced to this? Question mark quote. He exclaimed, gesturing at the junkyard they were hiding out in. Scavenging for scraps like some pickpocket, and the only hired help I can possibly acquire is nothing short of pathetic. He continued to yell as he pointed to the 4 henchmen applicants, who only hung their heads down in shame. I cannot believe that I'm about to say this, but I miss Finn, Ratso, and Chow. Yo dude. Valmont and Hawk Fu looked up toward a junk pile to see a trio of teenagers wearing black with skateboards. The one in the middle was blonde with a few zits on his face, the one on the right was slightly taller with purple dyed hair and a nose ring, with the one on the left was the largest present with spiky black hair. You seen the rest, now eyeball the best. The one in the middle stated as the 3 rolled down on their skateboards and were able to easily deal with each of the 4 applicants with only a select few punches and kicks before standing tall over the pile of the defeated applicants. The blonde even swapped the bee away with a snap of his fingers. So, we got the gig or what? Now it would seem Valmont and Hawk Fu were interested. In just what might your name be, young man? The crime lord asked. They call me Strikemaster Ice. The blonde in the middle, apparently the leader, introduced himself. "This here's my crew, DJ Fist and MC Cobra." He introduced the large one and purple-haired one respectively. That technique, Hakufu noticed their marital arts skills even with just a few moves. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" "I was just a pizza delivery guy," Strike Master Ice began to explain. "And it all went done one night. I delivered a medium ham and pineapple to this weird old man, and the fool stiffed me on the tip. But he told me this wild legend about the Zoo monastery floating above the clouds in the Far East. The monks started teaching me their extreme top secret style of martial arts. It was off the hook. But then I got hip to what the monks really wanted with me. They wanted to teach me the ways of peace. Well, I needed that bunk like a pizza needs a soggy crust, yo. They expelled me and DJ Fist and MC Cobra for bad behavior. Now we would have kicked their buddies. But we just weren't good enough to beat them yet. The Zoo monastery, I've heard of that place," Hakufu revealed. "Their martial art techniques are among the strongest in the world. And they would have become the most lethal of assassins, if it weren't for their meaningless talk of peace." "Ah see, this fool here gets it," MC Cobra stated with a grin. "So, we got the gig, boss man?" Strike Master Ice asked Valmont once more. Valmont was nonetheless intrigued as he had an impressed smirk. If Hakufu believed their martial arts prowess was something to beware, then perhaps these three had even more potential than his previous enforcers. "Let us put your skills to the test first," Valmont said. "I have a job for the three of you. If you pull it off, then you're hired." "So, what's the job, yo?" Strike Master Ice asked with an eager grin. It was Friday afternoon, and all the heroes were getting ready to board the cruise ship for their vacation. While Will and the others were saying goodbye to their parents, Jackie was in the cargo hold near the bottom of the ship as he and the captain placed the Golden Dragon in a secure vault, which the captain closed by pressing the correct buttons for the passcode, and gave a secondary lock with a swipe of a keycard. 12 inches thick and absolutely state-of-the-art. Most banks don't have a vault this secure, the captain said as he handed Jackie his own personal keycard. "I am sure that it is more security than what is necessary," Jackie said with an assuring smile. However, Jackie apparently didn't notice a small air duct opening from the ceiling as a certain green passling climbed out just as Jackie and the captain left before falling on the floor. Blanc rubbed his sore bottom as he looked at the vault. Big vault means big stuff. He tried to pry it open, only for the vault door not to budge an inch. He pulled harder, and harder, until finally he accidentally launched himself backwards on the floor. Blanc could only groan in annoyance. The cruise ship was then on its way as it made its way from Heatherfield and into the open Atlantic Ocean. Already, the most of guests were relaxing on the upper deck, either lying on lawn chairs or swimming in the pool. Caleb leaned back against the railing, glancing over his shoulder to the ocean as Cornelia walked up to him. "So, what do you think, rebel boy? Vacation enough for ya?" she asked him playfully. "Well, the ocean's bigger than any other body of water I'd seen in Meridian," Caleb pointed out, "but it's really too soon for me to say anything right now." "Oh, don't worry, before day's end, I'm gonna show you a whole new meaning of fun," Cornelia assured. "One thing I don't understand is why there's a pool here when you can just swim in the ocean," Caleb stated. "Because the pool doesn't have sharks in it," Irma said to him as she herself swam in the pool. Meanwhile, Yan Lin leaned back on one lawn chair, soaking in the sun with a pair of sunglasses, while Uncle just sat with crossed arms under an umbrella. "Hey, did you guys get a look at what's on the brochure?" Hey Lin asked as she, Will, Terani, and Jade walked up. Midnight rollerblading, video arcade. All you can eat breakfast, dessert 24/7, Jade listed excitedly as well. They even have a spa and massage table, Will pointed out. "I'm telling ya, this cruise is gonna be the best." However, Uncle wasn't impressed. "Waste of time. We'll not even be able to get a good cup of tea." "He drinks tea," a new voice spoke up. One that was unfamiliar to Caleb and the witch girls, but one very familiar to Uncle and Jade. The former gasped in horror as he and everyone else turned to see a short and elderly Japanese woman in red walking onto the scene alongside Toru. "Thought billy goats only eat tin cans." "Iya." Uncle stood up in alarm. "Thought dragon locked in vault." "Who's that?" Terani asked. "That's Toru's mom," Jade answered, though she was also surprised as well. His mom, Will, hey Lynn, and Terani exclaimed at the same time. Even Caleb and Cornelia looked in surprise, as did Irma as she climbed out of the pool. That's Toru's mother, Caleb questioned. Apparently. Cornelia said. You know, I always thought Toru's mom would be, you know, big. Irma whispered to Will. Toru, why is your mom? Jade asked the large sumo. Jackie said it would be alright to have her join us. Toru answered. Will tried to be polite, considering this woman was the mother of a friend of hers as she introduced herself. Hello Mrs. Toru. My name is Will, and these are my friends, we're all friends with Toru. Mrs. Toru smiled slightly. Well, a pleasure to meet you. Nice to know my baby has a friend with good manners. By the way, you've raised an awesome son. Hey Lynn pointed out. Seriously, he's one of the coolest guys we've ever met. Irma agreed. Mrs. Toru tried to act humble. Oh, you girls are going to make this old lady blush. My baby is such a lucky boy to make friends with such polite young ladies. Cornelia snickered. Hear that, baby Toru. She joked to the large sumo who only blushed in embarrassment. As Jackie walked up onto the deck, he noticed Uncle walking past him. Where are you going, Uncle? To lifeboat. Row back to shore. Uncle responded, not wanting to spend any amount of time with Toru's mother. She was probably the only person he couldn't stand, aside from Daolon Wang. Good. Mrs. Toru honestly felt the same way towards Uncle herself. I have better things to do than hang around with junk seller. Excuse me, Mrs. Toru, but the artifacts Uncle sells aren't junk. Terani pointed out, trying to sound as respectful while also defending the integrity of Uncle's shop. Many of his artifacts are genuine from even the Han Dynasty. Mrs. Toru seemed quite impressed by the bespectacled girl. Girl knows her history. I could get along with this one, perhaps you'd like to play a little mahjong. That caught Uncle's attention. You play mahjong? No, I win at mahjong. She approached Uncle almost challengingly. 5-time All-Kyoto finalist. Hong Kong Community Center champion, 1955. Uncle challenged back. Beat you with hand tied behind back. Ha. Big talker. How about you put your tiles where your mouth is? Mrs. Toru shot back. Cornelia and Irma couldn't help but snicker. Looks like someone's been out-uncled. Irma joked. Now you two. Yan Lin approached the bickering old duo. This is a vacation, a time to relax and have fun. Oh, and by the way, I happen to be the Heatherfield Community Center of Mahjong champion, 6 years in a row. She challenged with a playful smirk of her own. Mrs. Toru didn't seem angry, but rather intrigued. Ooh, then let's see what you got. Okay, now this I gotta see. Cornelia stated. I might not know what this mahjong is, but I'm sure this will be entertaining. Caleb seemed eager to see someone knock Uncle down to size himself. Are those two always like this? Will asked Jackie. Yes, but I feel those two might actually get along if given the chance. Jackie responded. Jade scoffed slightly. Yeah, the day that happens is the day Shendu gives out free candy to children. She noticed Toru's face, however, looking rather green. Hey, you okay, Big T? You still haven't given me the talisman. Toru held his stomach. Oh, right. Jade reached into her pocket and pulled out the horse talisman, which she handed to Toru. The minute it entered his palm, he was briefly enveloped in a white glow as the talisman's magic took effect. Toru could no longer feel the motion sickness. Ah, that's much better. Toru smiled. Well then, let the fun begin. Will said with a smile. From then on, the day went on almost perfectly for our group of young heroes. Whenever they weren't eating or playing games, they were relaxing either by a pool chair or at the ship's own spa, where Cornelia spent most of her time. Nighttime rolled around and everyone else still seemed to be having a good time as they all had dinner in the ballroom. Okay, I have to admit, this is pretty nice. Caleb admitted as he helped himself to a shrimp from the bowl at the table that he, Cornelia, Irma, Haylin, and Terani were at. Told ya you'd have a good time. Cornelia smirked. The spa was nothing short of perfection. My face is absolutely flawless, and I don't think my hair has ever felt so smooth. Better be careful I don't drip pizza sauce on your perfect hair. Irma teased as she ate a slice of pizza. Come near me with that, and I'll personally toss you overboard. Cornelia warned. And we haven't even been through half the stuff on this ship. Hey Lin stated. There's just so much, I don't know if we'll be able to do it all. Either way, I'm just glad that we have a whole weekend all to ourselves. Terani said. Nice break from fighting the forces of darkness. You know what else I love about this? That. Cornelia pointed to a nearby table where Uncle, Mrs. Toru, and Yan Lin were at another game of mahjong. Ha! I win again. Mrs. Toru won the game. Tay, you cheat again. Uncle accused. Now, no need to be a sore loser Jin. Yan Lin teased. You never accused me of cheating. That is because Yan Lin plays fair. Uncle stated. Spider-Woman moves a tile every time Uncle sneezes. You sneeze, all the tiles move. Mrs. Toru shot back. Bird Beak Nose should have its own zip code. Ooh, burn. Irma and everyone else at her table laughed. Dang, Toru, your mom is a total savage. Will commented, almost laughing herself, as she sat at a separate table with Jackie, Jade, and Toru. Tell me about it. Jade agreed. Nothing's more entertaining than seeing Uncle and Mrs. T duke it out. She'd probably roast Phobos into submission. Now that I'd like to see. Will laughed. Toru smiled. My mother is a good person, even if she can be a bit pushy. Well, I think it's a good kind of pushy. Will commented. Oh, and Jackie, thanks again for bringing us here, this is really great. You and the others deserve it, Will. Jackie replied. You've all been working hard and are facing the sort of decisions I would never place on people your age, but every now and, you need to let kids just be kids. Well, I'm actually a teenager, but thanks. Will smiled. Yep, one cruise and no bad guys are magical stuff to ruin it. Jade commented as she reached for a shrimp on her plate, when a green hand from under the table reached to try and grab it instead and pull it under. Jade, Will, Jackie, and Toru were taken by surprise at first, but it turned into annoyance as they looked under the tablecloth to see Blanc with the shrimp in his mouth. The minute he saw them, he gulped as he pulled the half-eaten shrimp out of his mouth. Half-eaten shrimp for trade. Blanc laughed nervously. Meanwhile, outside the ship, a single motorboat made its way toward the ship. Once it was close enough, 5 grappling hooks were thrown up toward the railing. Valmont, Hawk Fu, as well as their new recruits, the ice crew, climbed up onto the ship. Fortunately for them, nobody was outside, so nobody would notice the criminals as they quickly and quietly made their way to the lower levels. Within a few minutes, Valmont and his 4 henchmen were in the cargo hold, right in front of the vault that contained their objective inside. Strikemaster Ice gave an impressed whistle. Now that's a vault, yo. And within this high security barrier, lies an artifact of such value, we can not only rebuild the Dark Hand, but have enough to retire to a luxury mansion in the Caribbean. Valmont mused evilly. Vacation retirement, here we come baby. Let's crack this sucker open. MC Cobra exclaimed excitedly. Vicious Ape crushes walnut. Hawk Fu yelled as he and DJ Fist both threw their fists at the vault door, only for their knuckles to crack as they both yelled in pain and held their sore fists. Valmont then tapped his own fist along the vault. Reinforced titanium. So, it would seem the blunt approach is out of the question. No worries V-Man, me and the crew are experts in building and breaking things. Strikemaster Ice said as he and MC Cobra took out a series of blow torches. The next morning, Will had just woken up with a yawn, but was minorly surprised to see Toru outside, hunched over the railing. She got up and outside to check up on him. You okay Toru? Will asked as she patted his back. Had a hard time, sleeping last night. Toru muttered. I tossed my crackers. Got sick. What about the talisman? Will asked in confusion. I must have lost it, I cannot find it. Toru said. Lost it? But how? The rooms aren't that big and, Will's eyes widened slightly before her eyelids lowered in annoyance. Blanc. The pasling known as Blanc held the horse talisman in his hand as he crawled through the air ducts. Talismans make stuff go boom. Make safe go boom. Valuable stuff inside. Blanc said as he clearly mistook the horse talisman for likely the dragon or even pig talisman. He crawled down through the vents before coming toward the exit, just above the safe down in the cargo hold, but Blanc gave a slight squeal in surprise upon seeing Valmont, Hawk Fu, and the ice crew down below. Hawk Fu and DJ Fist were engaged in light sparring while Strikemaster Ice and MC Cobra continued to use their blow torches to try and break through the vault. Valmont however was starting to grow impatient. What is the hold up? The crime lord questioned. Ice and Cobra stopped when they realized they weren't getting anywhere. This safe is harder than a frozen pizza, and those things are rock solid, yo. Ice stated. Valmont scowled slightly but noticed MC Cobra taking out a laptop. And what are you doing? Cobra plugged the laptop into the electronic components with the vault. Gonna hack into the vault, yo. Didn't realize you were such an expert with technology. Valmont mused. I used to work in a computer store. Picked up a few tricks. MC Cobra replied. But they'll know we're in the system, dog. Then I suppose we'll need to implement our backup plan, then. Valmont said. Cobra, continue to work. Hawk Fu, Ice, Fist, were taking over the ship. Blanc gave an audible gasp. Uh-oh. He quickly climbed back the way he came through the air vents. Will and Jade walked through the halls as they attempted to search for the thieving passling. I'm beginning to see why Caleb doesn't like him so much. Will commented. First, he sneaks onto the cruise, then after all of us scold him, he goes ahead and steals the talisman. What does he plan to do with it anyway? I know I like the little guy, but he's kinda being a bit of a pest right now. Jade commented. Which actually says a lot, coming from me. Before the two could continue further down the hall, they heard some rattling sounds from the air vent on the ceiling above. They both gave surprised yelps as Blanc fell out of the air duct and on top of the two girls, knocking them down. Blanc, Will and Jade both exclaimed out of shock. Big trouble. Blanc shouted. Dark Hand Man in Green at vault. Trying to steal stuff inside. Dark Hand Man in Green. Jade's eyes widened in surprise as she and Will exchanged looks of shock. Valmont. Meanwhile, on the upper deck of the ship, Yan Lin walked alongside Uncle and Mrs. Toru. The latter seemed to be in a good mood, considering Uncle lost virtually all the games they've played. Billy Goat lose at Mahjong, Chinese checkers, Mrs. Toru gloated toward Uncle, before turning to Yan Lin. But I have to admit, you're not half bad when it comes to gin rummy. No sucha can hope to beat this old broad at any card game. Mrs. Lin said confidently. Anyone care for some blackjack? Uncle prefer game of skill, shuffleboard. Uncle stated. The exchange was being watched by Jackie, Caleb, and the other girls, most of which appeared confused. I can't tell whether they're getting along, or not. Irma commented. Toru's mom is getting along with Grandma pretty well. Hey Lin observed. But she doesn't seem to like Uncle very much. Terani pointed out as well. Well, I like her, Cornelia said. Nice to see the old-timer get a taste of his own medicine. She smirked. I know I'm supposed to respect my elders and all, but I actually agree. Caleb said as he and Cornelia exchanged a fist bump. Oh, I'm quite sure that deep down, they get along quite well. Jackie said. Yeah, whatever you say, Jackie. Irma didn't seem so convinced. They heard a groan as the group turned to see Toru, still a bit seasick, lying on a pool chair. Hey Toru, you okay big guy? Hey Lin asked as she, Irma, and Terani went over to help him. A little better, Toru said modestly. Sorry about the talisman, Terani apologized. Well, it's not our fault that little slime ball snuck onto the ship. Cornelia said, referring to Blanc. What's he even doing here anyway? He's a passling, they steal stuff. Caleb pointed out. My money is on that dragon statue thing. I don't think we have cause for alarm. Jackie stated. The vault is reinforced steel. I sincerely doubt a tiny thing like Blanc can break through. Come on, shit the buffet while breakfast is still up. Terani suggested. Yes, ocean air always gives me a big appetite. Jackie agreed. Eggs, bacon, biscuits. Suddenly, the group saw Toru running toward the railing where he chucked over the edge, much to the sympathy and or disgust of his friends. Well, I think he's made room. Irma tried to put in a little bit of humor. However, before they could continue, an announcement came over the intercom to the entire cruise. Attention all passengers, this is your captain. Please assemble in the ballroom for a mandatory safety presentation. Uncle gave a scoff. Not yet had morning tea. Ballroom. By the time Jackie, Irma, Caleb, Uncle, Hey Lin, Terani, Cornelia, Toru, Yan Lin, and Mrs. Toru all arrived in the ballroom, nearly all the passengers, with the exceptions of Jade, Will, and Blanc, had arrived. What kind of ship are they running? Uncle questioned. Captain calls meeting, no captain here. Everyone else looked around curiously and saw that neither the captain, nor any of his crew, were present in the ballroom. Doesn't seem like the captain very good at his job, Caleb pointed out. Maybe he's running late, Lynn wondered. Doubt it, people like this are usually very punctual. Tarani shook her head. Jackie had a bad feeling about this. Something is wrong. Suddenly Irma's cell phone vibrated in her pocket. When she answered it, she was surprised on who was the other line. Will, where are you? We're supposed to, wait what? Did you just say Valmont? That caught the attention of everyone else in the group, as did Valmont's voice playing through the intercom speakers. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, but I am afraid that the captain is indisposed at the moment. But do not worry, the ship is very well under control. My control. This caused all the passengers to look in worry as all the heroes were especially surprised, so much so they only just noticed Hawk Fu, Strike Master Ice, and DJ Fist enter the ballroom, close the door behind them, where Fist pressed a button on a small remote, and suddenly all the guests were trapped in a large laser grid cage. That's right, fools. The Dark Hand is in the his house. Strike Master Ice flashed a pair of rock-on devil horns with both his hands to gloat. Caleb tried to kick the cage down, only to get shocked and blasted back into a table, where Cornelia and Yan Lin immediately ran to help him up. What kind of cage is this? The young rebel questioned. A laser cage, Jackie answered. Can't break it. Looks like our mystery thieves are really the Dark Hand, Tarani guessed. Valmont must be getting desperate if he hired a pizza guy as his new enforcer. Irma pointed to Strike Master Ice. What makes you think he's a pizza guy? Lynn asked. Well, look at him. He looks like a pizza delivery guy, Irma replied. Whoever he is, he and Valmont are going to wish they never came here, Caleb stated. And just how do you plan to do that when we're stuck here? Cornelia questioned. Maybe with a little boost, Yan Lin suggested as she pointed to Toru, who offered his hands to heave them out of the laser cage as it didn't connect all the way to the ceiling. Jackie and Caleb both exchanged nods as they ran to Toru. Each of them placed their foot in each of his hands before he leapt them over the laser cage and toward the stage where all the instruments were, getting the attention of Hawk Fu, Ice, and Fist. Chan, Hawk Fu stated. Looks like the bunnies escaped their cage, dog. Strike Master Ice said. Well timed to make rabbit stew. He and DJ Fist made combat stances as Hawk Fu immediately leapt to Jackie. Angry Crow takes flight, Hawk Fu exclaimed as he leapt and kicked Jackie back into the instruments while Caleb was stuck dealing with Ice and Fist. Caleb dodged and swerved to avoid the punches from DJ Fist before ducking under another punch and grabbing Fist by his wrist and hauling him over his shoulder, but he didn't get a chance to recover as Strike Master Ice delivered a flying kick to his back to knock him down. So pretty boy's got some moves, Ice observed. But so does the Ice Master, homie. Strike Master Ice made his own combat stance, as Caleb got up and raised his fists. Meanwhile, Jackie pulled himself out of the pile of downed instruments to face Hawk Fu, only to find several stuck to his body via tangled straps, a drum on his back, a cymbal in each hand, and a guitar on his chest, while also stuck to the cymbal on his right hand. Jackie just barely dodged the next attack from Hawk Fu. Rabid Crowd Mall's rock band. Hawk Fu shouted as he delivered multiple rapid punches to Jackie, but he was able to use the cymbals as makeshift shields to block the punches before ducking to sweep his feet and knock Hawk Fu down. But this left him vulnerable for DJ Fist to come in from behind, lift Jackie up by the drum attached to his back, which he slipped out of before DJ Fist stuck it over Jackie, trapping him inside. Meanwhile, Caleb found himself on the defensive end from Strike Master Ice's relentless assault. Strike Master Ice threw all sorts of punches and kicks out, which Caleb could barely block or avoid. One kick was enough to knock Caleb down, where the young rebel tried to roll and sweep his feet, but Strike Master Ice already leapt to avoid it just as Caleb got up. But while Ice was airborne, he delivered a kick to Caleb's chest, knocking him onto the outside of the laser cage, shocking him before he fell to the ground in defeat. Caleb and Jackie were both thrown back into the cage, where Toru caught them and the others helped them back to their feet, while also looking in surprise at how quickly and easily Jackie and Caleb were defeated. They knew Hawk Fu was more than skilled, but these new guys seemed almost as skilled as Jackie himself. Okay, so pizza guys got some moves, Irma observed with a wide-eyed expression. I am going to be very sick. Toru looked as though he was about to puke, but Lin handed him a bag. Meanwhile, back at the vault, Valmont returned to see MC Cobra still working with trying to hack into the vault. Progress? Valmont asked. Yo, this high-tech security is straight up state-of-the-art, boss man. Cobra responded. In English, please. Valmont insisted. I'm working on it. Cobra translated. Meanwhile, back in the ballroom, while everyone else was still stuck in the laser cage, Uncle and Mrs. Toru were playing a game of tic-tac-toe. I win, Mrs. Toru said as she got 3 X's in a row. Again. That's because you have X's. X's always win, Uncle pointed out. Bah, I don't understand why Mr. Valmont is here, or why he's even doing something so apprehensible. He's such a nice man, Mrs. Toru said. Nice. Irma, Cornelia, Lin, Terani, and even Caleb exclaimed at the same time. She's joking, right? Irma wasn't sure what to make of this. The guy's a freaking crime lord and a stalker on top of that. Cornelia stated. That would be my fault, Toru confessed nervously. I haven't told her about Valmont's less than pleasant business dealings. Now's about as good a time as any. Caleb pointed out with crossed arms and an irritated expression on his face. Yes, but she won't be happy to hear it. Toru proceeded to walk to her mother and tell her the whole truth. Hey, Jackie, Grandma, Lin got both their attention. I'm really worried about Will and Jade. I haven't seen them here. I'm sure they're fine, Lin. Yan Lin assured her granddaughter. Those two can handle themselves. Yes, but Valmont is incredibly dangerous, and his new recruits seem much stronger than the Finn and the others. Jackie acknowledged. However, he felt his own phone vibrate and looked to see Jade's number on the caller ID. He quickly answered it but spoke in a whisper. Jade, where are you? We're right outside. Jade whispered into the phone as she, Will, and even Blunk hid behind the door from the hallway that led into the ballroom. We can see you. Don't worry, once Will and the others go all witch, we'll total these losers. No, Jade. Jackie responded back as all three listened. There are too many people here, the girls cannot transform now. He has a point. Secret identity, remember, Will told Jade. Right. Jade winced slightly. But we can still take M. No, I have a better plan. Jackie said. Ewan will find the communications room and signal an SOS. Please hurry. They heard Jackie hang up, probably to avoid looking suspicious to the guards outside. I think that's probably the best idea, Jade. Will told the black-haired girl who was about to protest. You see that cage? They both looked past the doors. It doesn't go to the ceiling. Jackie must have already tried that, but they beat him back. And if these guys can beat Jackie, maybe calling for help is a better option. Yes, call for help. Good idea. Even Blunk agreed. Despite wanting to actually fight, Jade knew they had a point, so she reluctantly agreed. Yeah, that's always my favorite part of the movie, when the hero makes a phone call. Will looked questionably at her friend. What do you think this is? Die Hard. Blunk peeked past the door into the communication room and saw it was empty. Coast clear, he said as the two girls quickly ran inside. Jade found the communications and spoke into the phone. Hello. Mayday. Mayday. Can someone connect me to Section 13? It's a top-secret organization, probably not listed. Really? Will looked at Jade questionably once more, causing Jade to wince. On second thought, just get me the Coast Guard. Cargo hold. As MC Cobra continued to work at the laptop, he was able to see an alarm on the screen as they were still connected into the system. Yo boss man, someone's trying to put out an SOS. Cobra told Valmont, who plugged in his own communications device to hack into the communications line. The ship's been taken over by some crazy thieving pirates. My dear Jade, I would thank you not to compare me to such uncivilized ruffians. Valmont responded with a smirk. Jade just realized she was busted before quickly hanging up. Where did that call come from? Valmont asked Cobra. Ship's radio room. MC Cobra answered. Valmont accessed his own walkie-talkie. Hawk Fu. Ballroom. Yes, master. Hawk Fu received the instructions needed. Ice, we have a pest to squash. True dat, homie. Strike Master Ice acknowledged. Yo Fist, you watch the rabbits. Me and Tiger Boy gotta hunt for a wild one. DJ Fist nodded as Ice handed him the remote to the laser cage before he and Hawk Fu left the ballroom, while Jackie, Caleb, and the other girls could only look with worry and concern for their friends. Will, Jade, and Blanc ran down the hall back towards where their friends and everyone else were trapped. Okay, new plan. We beat them up the old-fashioned way, Jade stated. Or, we can just find another way too. Suddenly they found their pathway blocked by Hawk Fu and Strikemaster Ice. Blanc gave another yelp as he took cover behind the girls. Yo, that is one seriously ugly frog, homie. Strikemaster Ice noticed Blanc. I am afraid that your path ends here, Hawk Fu stated menacingly as he made a martial arts stance. Well, Jade looked toward the redhead nervously, with an expression telling her there was only one option. Yeah, I get it. Will understood there was only one thing to do if they were going to get out of this. She took out the crystal known as the Heart of Kandrakar and said 2 words. Guardians unite. However, as she was the only one within proximity of the heart, Will was the only one undergoing the flashy transformation that forced Hawk Fu, Ice, even Jade and Blanc to cover their eyes being so close. When the light subsided, Will was in her guardian form, where she didn't even give Hawk Fu or Ice a time to react as she flew right at them and delivered 2 quick punches to their faces and knocked them back. Jade, you and Blanc help Jackie and the others. I got these guys, Will stated. No problem, kick their butts, Jade stated as she and Blanc ran past them just as the enemy martial artists got back up. Yo, am I seeing things? Did that redhead just turn into a fairy? Strikemaster Ice questioned upon seeing Will's transformed appearances. It does not matter, Hawk Fu stated. She is the enemy, and we must pluck her wings. Then come and get me, boys. Will had a confident smirk as she made her own kung fu stance followed by a hand wave, silently telling them to bring it on. Cargo hold. If anyone intercepted that ship to shore, the Coast Guard will be here very soon. Valmont realized just how much of a time limit he was on. How soon can you have that vault open? Not soon enough, MC Cobra replied. New plan, boss man. Blow it up. You fool, Valmont stated. If the hall is breached. Yo, you got any better ideas? Cobra questioned. Valmont scowled slightly but realized that they didn't have the luxury to wait around, especially with Jackie Chan on the ship. Even if he was trapped at the moment, he knew that Chan never stays trapped for long. Do it. Octopus fists of fury. Hawk Fu flashed multiple punches at Will, but she was able to block them all, albeit leaving her on the defensive. Snake cuts grass. Hawk Fu tried to sweep his feet, but Will flew up to avoid the sweep before she delivered her own airborne roundhouse to Hawk Fu's face and knock him back. However, she was later put on the defensive from Strikemaster Ice's own relentless attacks as he delivered multiple punches and kicks, but Will's own strength in her guardian form was strong enough to block them all with minimal damage, but when she threw out her own punch, Ice caught it before putting her in an arm lock. Strikemaster Ice gave a whistle. Dang, you are one fine girl, Red. I could use a lady in the kick-butt department. Will cringed in disgust. Ew. No thanks. She drove her elbow into his abs, forcing him to let go before she turned around to throw a punch at his face and sent Strikemaster Ice skidding across the hall. Will didn't get a chance to celebrate however as Hawk Fu was back in the fray. Flying Bison kick. The Black Tiger landed a flying kick to Will's back and sent her rolling across the ground. Will pulled herself back up as she once again faced Hawk Fu and Strikemaster Ice. However, before the fighting could continue, a large explosion rang throughout the ship, which knocked all 3 of them off balance and onto the ground. Cargo hold. Valmont and MC Cobra looked past the clear dust to see the vault door had been blown open completely, to reveal the golden dragon inside. MC Cobra whistled. Now that is one fine dragon. CV man, told ya it would be alright. Really? Valmont questioned. You count blowing a piece of the hull and flooding waters, alright. He gestured to a large hole in the hull, which already had a large amount of ocean water flooding into the cargo hold. Meanwhile, back in a separate hallway, Jade already regained her bearings as the alarm sounded throughout the entire ship. Blanc covered his ears. What is sound? Too loud. Blanc exclaimed, not liking the sound of the alarm. Probably bad news, Jade guessed. She and Blanc were about to continue, when she heard a banging noise coming from the control room, which she just so happened to pass by. Stay here, Blanc, she told the passling before entering the control room, where she continued to hear the same knocking sound coming from a locked door. Jade opened the door, and saw the captain and his crew. Valmont must have locked them inside. What's with all the sirens? The ship is sinking, the captain stated. The passengers, in a ballroom. I'm all over it. Meanwhile, Will, as well as Ice, and Hawkfu heard the sirens ringing as well. That can't be good, Will commented. Hawkfu was immediately contacted by his boss. Hawkfu, you and the others meet Cobra and myself near the cargo hold immediately. Yes, master. Hawkfu turned to Ice. Time to go. Got it. We'll have to finish our date later, Red. Strikemaster Ice told Will before he and Hawkfu ran off in another direction. Don't wait up. Will shivered before using the heart of Kandrakar to turn herself back to normal and running back in the direction Jackie and her friends were trapped. Ballroom. All the passengers, including the group of heroes, had all been knocked down from the explosion as they too heard the sirens going off. DJ Fist had already left as well, as he likely got the same notice from Valmont to meet up with the others. What's that noise? Caleb questioned. An alarm. Terani answered. I'm guessing the ship's hull has been breached. Ooh, yeah, that sounds bad. Irma commented. Ya think? Cornelia questioned irritably. Will was quick to re-enter the ballroom, where she spotted a button on a corner generator. The second she pressed it, the entire laser cage shut down just as Jade, the captain, and the crew all entered the ballroom. Everyone, calmly, to the lifeboats. The captain told all the passengers, but as opposed to calmly proceeding to the lifeboats, they all panicked and ran out past the captain and his crew. However, as everyone else left, the Chan clan, which girls, along with Caleb and Mrs. Toru remained behind. There may not be enough time to evacuate. Jackie stated. Jade, Will, did either of you find the horse talisman? Perhaps we can use it to heal the ship. I got it right here. Will took out the horse talisman, after taking it away from Blanc. Wait, maybe we can use this. Jade suggested. What do you mean? Terani questioned. I mean, since everyone else is busy evacuating, they won't be able to see a good old-fashioned J-Witch versus. Dark Hand smack down. Jade stated. And after we take down Valmont and his new cronies, we just use the talisman to fix up the ship. Huh, that's actually a pretty good idea. Lin seemed on board with it. I'm in. Caleb was more than eager for a rematch himself. What? But this is, Jackie tried to protest. If we're full Guardian mode, Valmont and Pizza Boy won't stand a chance. Plus, we got you and Toru. Irma was also on board. We can stop the bad guys and save the people. Seems like a win-win to me. Cornelia was in as well. If we move quick enough, we should get it done with no trouble at all. Terani was on board too. I'm in as well, Toru said, much to Jackie's surprise as Will handed him the horse talisman to nullify his seasickness. He cracked his enormous knuckles for emphasis. Jackie looked as though he was about to protest, until Uncle slapped him on the forehead as usual. Ow. Why is nephew so hesitant? The more we stand around, the more ship sinks, and the more time Valmont has to escape. We must move quickly, Uncle stated. I'm in too, Yan Lin also said. I may be old, but this old broad still has a few tricks up her sleeve. I am in as well. Mrs. Toru was even on board. I have a few things I'd like to say to Mr. Valmont myself. She also flexed her hands, indicating it was not going to be a pleasant encounter. Jackie saw all the points everyone made and realized it was probably the best idea, not to mention that the longer they waited, the more time Valmont has to escape and the more the ship sinks. He looked towards Will with a nod. The redhead smirked as she took out the heart of Kandrakar once more. It's Guardian time. The ship continued to sink, but despite that it would appear Valmont and his associates would escape as they had all made it to the deck of the ship, which was already on a semi-diagonal angle with the boxed golden dragon being carried by Hawkfu and DJ Fist. Not as subtle as I would have liked, but still, a job well done. Valmont told the ice crew. I can see your skills being most beneficial to me as I reconstruct the Dark Hand. True that, boss man, Ice stated, so long as the pay is green. Sorry boys, don't think so. Valmont turned around in surprise to see an oncoming kick from the Flying Will, before he was knocked back and slid into the other four marital arts villains, who slid back against the wall and looked in surprise to see the fully transformed and fully assembled witch, who stood along with Toru, Caleb, and even Jackie and Jade. Hey, Valmont, miss us? Irma greeted tauntingly. Valmont growled as he saw them. Not as much as I will soon miss all of you. Destroy them. Yo, we is about to fight a bunch of fairy girls. MC Cobra questioned. Let's show these fairies that they is about to get iced. Strike Master Ice said as he, MC Cobra, and DJ Fist made martial arts stances along with Hawk Fu. Angry Crow takes flight. Hawk Fu leapt straight for Toru, while the ice crew engaged Caleb and the girls. Valmont was about to get up as well, only to come face to face with Jackie Chan himself. You just can't resist meddling in my affairs, can you, Chan? Valmont glared as he stood up. The golden dragon belongs in a museum. Jackie stated. Well then, perhaps I should finally put you where you belong, in the morgue. Valmont stated as he leapt at Jackie with a kick, which Jackie parried as they engaged in single combat. DJ Fist swung multiple punches towards Caleb as he backed away towards a nearby pool rod, which he picked up and used as a makeshift weapon to block and parry Fist's assault. You don't talk much, do you? Caleb questioned as DJ Fist grabbed the rod and lifted it, as well as Caleb over his head, before tossing him over his head, where he slid along the diagonal surface of the deck but regained his footing. However, this appeared to leave him vulnerable for Cornelia to fly in with a kick of her own. Though she landed a solid kick in across his face, he recovered enough to grab her leg as she tried to fly away and tried to pull her into a punch, but she ducked under the punch and tried to grab his wrist with both her hands to try and haul him over her shoulder, but DJ Fist crossed his legs and tripped Cornelia over them where he gave a roundhouse to knock her back towards Caleb. Can't you just bury him or something? Caleb questioned the blonde. Do you see any rocks or plants around? Cornelia answered sarcastically. We're on a ship in the middle of the ocean, genius. I can't manipulate what isn't around. DJ Fist stepped in front of them, where he cracked his neck and made a martial arts stance, making the typical hand gesture for them to bring it on. Well, guess we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. Caleb observed. Time for those kung fu lessons to pay off. Cornelia attempted to make her own martial arts stance as well, which was pretty mediocre compared to Jackie's or even Will's. Terraini flew as she threw down multiple fireballs at MC Cobra, who backflipped to avoid each one tossed in his direction. He backflipped towards the wall where he found a fire extinguisher. He smirked as he took it and aimed it at Terraini. You need to cool off, sweetheart. MC Cobra sprayed the substance at Terraini, just as she was about to throw another fireball, which not only extinguished her own attack but sent her crashing onto the ground. Before MC Cobra could even celebrate, however, he was blasted by a stream of water by Irma. Take your own advice, pal. Oh, and by the way, nose rings are for losers. Irma mocked as she pulled two large tentacles of water from the ocean on the other side of the railing, which she lashed out at MC Cobra, who flipped and dodged to avoid each lashing while he moved closer to Irma and threw out a kick, which Irma could barely avoid. Shark devours whale. Hawk Fu lashed out a pair of claws at Toru, which he tried to block by crossing his enormous arms but was still pushed back. Toru tried to grab Hawk Fu, only for him to leap over and behind Toru. Scorpion stings from backside. Hawk Fu delivered a punch to Toru's back, enough to knock him back a bit. But Hawk Fu was quickly blown away by a cyclone of air, courtesy of Hei Lin as she landed by Toru's side. I got a question. Are those real martial arts moves? Or is he just making this stuff up? Hei Lin asked Toru, who simply shrugged in response. Hawk Fu got back up after whipping his mouth, only to find something grab him from behind by the shoulder. He turned around just in time to see a foot incoming to his face, to knock him back. Black Tiger has no manners. Uncle scolded. Indeed. Yan Lin agreed as she appeared behind Hawk Fu and swept him off his feet with a cue stick from a shuffleboard game in her hands. She spun it around in her hands like an expert martial artist. Perhaps we can teach him some. We'll once again face to face with Strike Master Ice, who couldn't help but smirk. Ah, C-Red couldn't get enough of the Ice Master. Not that I blame ya. I'm quite the catch, ain't I? He was then punched in the face and sent hurtling into the railing. Yeah, a rotten catch. Think'll toss you back. Will stated as she brushed her hands. Strike Master Ice however got back up. Okay, so Red wants to play rough. Well, I can play rough. Strikemaster Ice was on the attack with multiple punches and kicks, which will continue to block and parry as she also attacked with her own strikes, which Ice was also able to block. Jackie meanwhile found himself on the defensive from Valmont, who threw every punch and kick at any possible opening, though Jackie was able to block most of the attacks. He intercepted one punch and crossed his leg over Valmont's to flip him over and onto the wall as the ship was starting to submerge even deeper. However, as Valmont picked himself up, he spotted an emergency axe underneath a glass container. He smirked evilly as he broke the glass and took out the axe, causing Jackie to chuckle nervously as he backed away, but found a life preserver rod attached to the same wall, which Jackie picked up and spun around like a staff before engaging Valmont once more as they clashed their respective tools. DJ Fist threw left at Cornelia with multiple punches, but she flew in the air to avoid them, letting Caleb run in before he jumped and landed a flying kick to his chest to knock him back. But DJ Fist was able to get back up as he grabbed several boxes and threw them at the pair, which they were quick to avoid. Caleb saw a life preserver sliding down to him on the diagonal angle they were on when he got an idea. "Hey, catch!" He threw the life preserver like a disc weapon at DJ Fist, however he was fast enough to catch the makeshift weapon, much to Caleb's surprise. But this also left him open for Cornelia to quickly land in front of him and land a punch to his face, through the hole in the middle of the life preserver, causing him to stagger before she delivered a roundhouse to his face, to defeat him and send him sliding back against the wall. "Nice kick," Caleb told her. "Nice throw," Cornelia responded as they both exchanged a fist bump. Meanwhile, Irma brought her hands together to generate a stream of water, which she shot at MC Cobra, but he was able to duck underneath it, while also grabbing the downed fire extinguisher he used to dispatch Tyranny. Once he was close enough, he threw it out like a blunt weapon to Irma, knocking her down hard onto the floor. "Yo, my mama always told me never to hit a girl, but I love it." MC Cobra raised the blunt weapon with the intent on finishing Irma off. Guess what? She was right. Tyranny suddenly flew in as she threw a fireball at the extinguisher, causing it to explode and completely cover him in the foam, and some even got into his eyes. "Ah, I can't see. Can't see. See this?" Irma blasted a point-blank stream of water right into MC Cobra and sent him crashing right into the downed DJ Fist. Gorilla snaps frail twig. Hawk Fu raised his fists to crush Uncle, but he was able to catch him by the wrists before he quickly dealt a kick to Hawk Fu's chest, sending him right into Hei Lin, who already spun her body and generated a tornado around her body. Hawk Fu was pulled into the vortex before Hei Lin stopped and sent Hawk Fu flying right to Toru, where he responded with a punch, which also sent him rolling toward Yan Lin, who finished it off with a strike of the Q stick to his jaw, sending him crashing into the pile where Fist and Cobra were already at. "Wow, Grandma, you really got some moves." Hei Lin was very impressed with her grandmother. "Shuffleboard. Who knew it was so invigorating?" Yan Lin commented with a smirk as she, Uncle, and Toru all looked quite satisfied with the result. Meanwhile, Will and Strikemaster Ice both appeared locked in a duel of martial arts, and despite Strikemaster Ice seeming to have more experience, Will's own superior strength seemed to more than even the playing field as they each punched, blocked, kicked, and parried every strike they dealt to one another. "You know, it feels like we is having quite the dance, sweetheart." Ice flirted. "You move, and I move. See, we're meant for each other." "Oh right, like you're such a romantic." Will was really starting to get annoyed as they continued to fight, however as they locked fists with each other, Will smirked. "Fortunately for me, I got a wild card up my sleeve." She twisted her arms to put Strikemaster Ice in a strong grip. "And her name's Jade." Jade herself came flying in with a kick straight to Ice's crotch, causing him to squeal before he fell down to grab his lower body area before Will delivered an uppercut to Ice's jaw and sent him flying and crashing into the growing pile of bad guys near the wall. "Hope I didn't interrupt a lover's quarrel." Jade smirked to Will, who simply lowered her eyelids in annoyance. "Not funny." Meanwhile, the ship was almost completely vertical as it continued to sink. With Jackie and Valmont continuing their fight on top of the now vertical wall as Jackie continued to use the rod he was holding to block Valmont's relentless axe strikes. As Valmont swung his axe down, Jackie blocked it with the rod caught underneath the blade as they continued to struggle against each other. However, Valmont proved to be strong enough as he spun the axe to pry the rod out of Jackie's hands, while simultaneously sweeping him off his feet. Valmont approached the downed Jackie menacingly as he still held the axe. "I've waited a long time for this. For every defeat, for every humiliation." Valmont raised the axe above and behind with the intent to strike. "I will finally have my revenge." He tried to swing down, only to find the axe had completely disappeared from his hands. "What? So, this is who you really are." Valmont turned around in surprise to see Mrs. Toru holding the axe with an angry and disappointed look on her face. "I had such a high opinion of you. Mrs. Toru. Wow, what a pleasure to see you again." Valmont laughed nervously as Jackie stood back up and crossed his arms. "You can drop the act, Valmont," Mrs. Toru told him. "I know who you really are. You forced my baby into a life of crime and lied about it. That is unforgivable." Valmont's expression became stone cold. "I do apologize for that, but I would kindly ask you to step aside. I would rather not harm an elderly woman, but if I must, ah." Valmont squealed in pain as Mrs. Toru stomped hard onto his foot. "That is for lying to me." She then punched him in the gut to knock all the wind out of him. "That is treating my boy the way you did." She punched him across the face with her left fist, followed by the same with her right fist before pulling him down by his tie. "And this is for making him fight a demon." She delivered a final uppercut to his jaw, sending him flying and crashing into the defeated pile of Haku and the ice crew, where they all groaned in pain. Mrs. Toru dusted her hands. "Words cannot express the disappointment I feel. Mrs. Toru, I am sorry that I never told you about Valmont." Jackie apologized. The elderly Japanese woman had an understanding look on her face. "I am disappointed in Valmont. But I can rest assured because I know my boy is with someone I can truly trust." She pinched Jackie's cheek, somewhat painfully, but he was nonetheless grateful. "Hey guys." Irma called to them as she and the other guardians hovered in the air while holding their friends. Will held Jade, Heilin and Terani both carried Toru, who also carried Uncle and Yan Lin in his arms, while Cornelia carried Caleb. "I hate to interrupt your bonding moment, but the ship's still sinking," she reminded. "Right." Jackie realized the predicament they were still in. "Toru, the talisman." Toru searched his pockets but found that they were completely empty. "It's gone." Before anyone in the group could panic, they looked down by horizontal wall to see Blanc holding the horse talisman. Blanc not have talisman of blowing stuff up, Blanc have talisman of fixing things. Blanc fix ship. The passeling placed the horse talisman on the wall of the ship. The second it made contact, the talisman began to glow. All the passengers on the lifeboat, including the captain and his crew, looked in absolute awe as they saw the entire cruise ship straightened itself out and positioned itself correctly onto the water, as though it was never damaged or sinking in the first place. "I don't believe it," he looked in amazement and disbelief. As all damage to the ship had been repaired, even the vault down in the cargo hold looked as though it was brand new. The Flying Guardians sat down with their friends as they all celebrated and exchanged high fives and fist bumps with one another, and even a few cheers. Even Uncle and Mrs. Toru were about to share a high five, but they looked in surprise, realizing what they were about to do, before they turned their backs to each other with crossed arms, causing Toru to smile before he got nauseous once again and proceed to toss his cookies over the railing. Blanc save ship. Blanc save dragon. The passeling sat on the head of the golden dragon, which he hugged and nuzzled his face against it. Ahem. Blanc looked up to see Caleb, Cornelia, and even Jackie looking at him with crossed arms. "No worry. Dragon too big to steal anyway," Blanc said as he handed Jackie the horse talisman, which he promptly handed back to Toru. "We'll look to the spot where she expected the defeated Dark Hand to be, but looked in surprise to find that they had vanished completely. Guys, where's Valmont?" "Over there." Jade pointed over the railing where everyone ran to look as they saw Valmont, Haku, and the ice crew in their own motorboat once more, zooming away at high speeds. "Should we go after them?" Terani asked. "No, let them go," Jackie said. "We should probably explain to the captain how his ship miraculously repaired itself." Toru. Mrs. Toru got her son's attention. "Mommy, I am sorry I lied to you about Valmont. I understand why you did. I don't blame you, and you'll always be my baby." She shared a hug with her son. "Ah." Heilin practically gushed, while everyone else smiled. Now, would you care to explain to me why some of your friends can transform and fly, and why there is a talking toad on the ship? Mrs. Toru still needed an explanation for that, causing the 5 aforementioned guardians, including Jade and Jackie, to chuckle nervously. Sorry big guy, but you're on your own for this one. Irma told him. Toru sighed with an expected smile. It's a long story, mother. A few moments later, all the passengers were brought safely back onto the cruise ship. Jackie had told the captain how Valmont tricked everyone into thinking the ship was sinking in order to get everyone off the ship so no one would get in his way to steal the Golden Dragon. Fortunately, the captain was able to buy it. During this time, Toru, Caleb, and even Yan Lin explained to Mrs. Toru the whole story about the Guardians, as well as Meridian, Phobos, and their mission to find the missing heir. Mrs. Toru actually took it rather well and said how she'd be willing to help whenever they needed it, which everyone was grateful for. Now the cruise continued on its journey as everyone on board could now finally relax, especially our heroes as Jackie, Will, Jade, and Cornelia were sunbathing on pool chairs, while Irma, Terani, and Haylin swam in the pool. Toru helped himself to a whole thing of pizza as he sat separately at a table, and even Caleb took a relaxing nap in the sun. Ah, finally we can relax and enjoy the cruise. Jackie laid back. I'm gonna soak up every bit of this nice sun, Cornelia said in a relaxing tone. Hey, where's Blanc? Will questioned. Hadn't seen him since the Dark Hand took off. He wanted to stand guard at the Golden Dragon, so I let him. Jade smirked. Blanc was helping himself to a large plate of shrimp as he sat alone in the closed vault, resting his back against the Golden Dragon. At least this way, nobody else could see him until Jackie opened up the vault once they would make it to London later in the afternoon. Blanc could get used to cruise, he said as he ate yet another shrimp and gave a loud burp. Hey, looks like miracles can happen, Jade said as they saw Uncle, Mrs. Toru, and Yan Lin all sitting at a table across from the pool together. Guess Mrs. Lin managed to get them to actually be nice to each other. Will assumed. Jackie smiled. It's nice to see those two enjoying each other's company for once. Yan Lin held her both hands around the locked hands of Uncle and Mrs. Toru. 1, 2, 3, go. She let go as they both proceeded to arm wrestle with each other. Junk Munger weak as scrawny chicken. Mrs. Toru struggled against Uncle. Toothless old bat got nothing. Uncle shot back as he continued to press. Yan Lin only shook her head with a smile. It's a work in progress. Big trouble, bigger Jade. Meridian, Phobos Castle. And the Guardians know nothing of this new portal. The Dark Prince asked for confirmation as he helped himself to a cup of wine with Daolon Wong giving his report. I have sent my Dark Kai warriors through the veil for confirmation. Neither the children nor Chan know of its whereabouts. Wong informed. And with Cedric remaining in hiding to elude the Earth forces, so only I will be able to locate the young rebel leader on Earth. Remind those 3 buffoons to be careful. Phobos warned. I've underestimated Jackie Chan and his allies far too many times. Even without the Guardians, he is still dangerous. Earth. Vandam residence. Will was alone in her room, practicing some kung fu on a punching bag she recently bought. She focused more on her legs and kicks for a couple of minutes before taking a break to help herself to a bottled water. Will. She heard her mother come in. I got your report card and, Mrs. Vandam looked in minor surprise to see the punching bag and Will herself covered in sweat. What are you doing? Practicing. Will answered in between breaths. Practicing what? Kickboxing. Susan questioned. Kung Fu. Will replied. Jade's uncle Jackie is teaching me and a bunch of our friends. And you don't have to pay her anything, it's free. Kung Fu. Susan gave her daughter a questionable look. Will, you're not picking fights, are you? What? No. Will immediately stated. Mom, it's just self-defense. Trust me, Jackie made that very clear. Plus, I get to hang out with my friends too, so it's a bonus. Susan sighed. Well, alright if you say so. Anyway, I got your report card. You got 3 B's, but a C+ in math. Yeah, sorry. Will winced. You know math's not my best subject. But, to be fair, it's still an improvement. Susan acknowledged. But you still could do better. So, the movie. You did promise that if I didn't have any D's, I'd get to go. Will asked. Susan began to think slightly, mostly playfully as she smirked. All right. Will smiled before her mother turned to her with a stern yet playful expression. But you stay with your friends at all times. Don't want anything to happen to my pink perky kung fu pumpkin. Will's face turned red with embarrassment. Mom, she groaned as Susan just chuckled. Chan residence. Come on, Jade muttered as she pressed her back against the wall, her fingers crossed. Jackie held a ruler over the top of her head, before using a marker to mark her height. Jade turned around with a hopeful smile, only for it to dash as her height had only increased by about half an inch at best. No, Jade exclaimed in disbelief. The whole time I've been in America, I haven't grown 1 inch. I'm never gonna grow up, Jackie. Patience, Jade, Jackie told his niece. Enjoy your childhood while it lasts. Jade scoffed. I have a billion years of school left, I can't reach anything in the freezer, I never get invited in all these magic missions. Way enjoyable. She was about to walk out. Jade, where are you going? Jackie asked. Gonna hang out with Will and the others. Take my mind off this. Jade answered before leaving. Jackie shook his head slightly, he was glad to see Jade having some good friends, but so far, it looks as though they haven't helped Jade too much in the patience department. Sometime later, Jade had meet up with Will, Irma, Terani, Cornelia, and Haylin just outside the movie theater. Okay, I get it's an action flick and all, but why do you want to stay out all night? Jade asked the girls. You can see it any time you want, it's not like it's a one-time showing. What part of starring Vance Michael Justin do you not understand? Cornelia asked. The part where he's no Clint Eastwood. Jade pointed out. Will looked to Jade in minor surprise. I didn't know you were into him. The guy's a badass, both in character and in person. What's there not to like? Jade asked. I hear ya. Irma smirked before putting on an Eastwood impression. You gotta ask yourself a question, do I feel lucky? Well do ya, punk. She and Jade both snickered. You guys can keep that old man. Cornelia said as she leaned dreamily against the poster for the movie. I just cannot help screaming his name. Over and over, it's a movie screen, VMJ can't hear you. Haylin pointed out. He hates being called VMJ. Cornelia replied. And broccoli, and girls who wear too much makeup. Terani, Irma, and Haylin all said at the same time in a playful mocking tone. So, you guys are coming, right? Terani asked Will and Jade. Yeah, Mom said it was okay. Will confirmed. Sure, why not? Jade shrugged. It's the premiere. Be prepared to spend 6 hours in line, with superfans. Irma said as the group began to walk away. Bundle up, bring cocoa, and earplugs. Terani advised. Cornelia leaned against the movie poster once more. Our love will keep me warm. Jade shook her head as she and Will walked slightly behind everyone else. Will noticed the mood she was in. You alright, Jade? You seem a little grumpy. The black-haired girl gave her titular scoff. You'd be grumpy too if you learned you'd be stuck as a shrimp forever. I mean, I'm 12 years old and even Haylin is taller than me. Wow, that does sound like it sucks. Will commented. But, nothing wrong with being short, I mean Napoleon was about as tall as a baby. That didn't seem to cheer Jade up. Easy for you to say. You got magic powers that make you super tall. An idea soon came to her. Bet I can do the same thing. She thought to herself with a small smirk on her face. Meanwhile, Caleb looked around the alleyway behind the movie theater. You sure this is where you smelled the portal? Caleb asked as he moved a dumpster, only to find that the passling named Blunk had completely vanished. Blunk. Caleb sighed, thinking he probably ran off to steal something. All I smell is rotten eggs, which is actually an improvement over smelling you. He saw a rat on a dumpster. You're not Blunk, you're too clean. Caleb said. The young rebel leader looked to see Jade, Will, Irma, Haylin, and Terani walking past the alleyway and decided to see what they were doing here, not noticing however that he was being watched by the Dark Kai enforcers. Well, there's the kid, let's get him. Chow stated from around a smaller alleyway. Hold up, those fairy girls are here too. Finn stopped his friend from acting rash. Let's wait till he's all by himself. The trio clung the wall and watched as Caleb approached. Cornelia continued talking to the movie poster. Oh, you just haven't tried broccoli the way I make it, Vance Michael. I didn't know you and the poser were dating. Caleb teased, startling Cornelia. Caleb, the blonde exclaimed. Sneaking up on people might be okay in Meridian, but here it's just, like, rude. I don't get why girls here fall for a picture of a guy pretending to be an elf. Caleb said upon seeing the movie poster himself. He is not an elf. Cornelia replied. He's a Trendleblooden, a tribe of incredibly good-looking pixies who bravely battle the forces of Flundar. She said before walking away. Hey, I'd like to see Vance Michael what's-his-face tango with a giant lizard and a dark wizard. Caleb exclaimed. Cause I do that, you know. Every day. Suddenly, a taxi came zooming in through the streets, causing several other cars to veer or come to a halt to avoid being rammed into by the out-of-control public transport before it spun and came to a sudden halt only 3 feet away from the startled Caleb. The passengers in the back ran out of the yellow car for their lives just as the window lowered to reveal a laughing Blanc in a hotel uniform. Yo, want ride? Blanc offered Caleb. Blanc, you stole a taxi. The young rebel honestly did not know what to make of it. Not steal. Blanc explained. At hotel, hear people say, take taxi, so Blanc take taxi. Caleb opened the driver's door, forcing Blanc to stumble out. Caleb take taxi back hotel. Caleb said in a Blanc impression as he sat down, with Blanc getting in the back. Even though Jackie had given Caleb a few basic instructions on how to drive a car, in the event of an emergency, it was still a bit more complicated than riding a horse or any other steed in Meridian. How do you start it again? Caleb asked himself as he turned on the ignition and attempted to drive the taxi away, having a difficult time controlling the speed. This only served to surprise Finn, Ratso, and Chow as they stepped out of the alleyway. There he goes. Chow exclaimed. Ratso turned around to see the movie poster. Oh hey, Vance Michael Justin's playing tonight. Dude, we got job. Focus on this VMJ guy after we catch the rebel kid. Finn told him. He hates being called VMJ. Ratso said as they attempted to run and catch the speeding taxi themselves. Silver Dragon. All night. Haylin's father exclaimed after the girl herself told her parents about the movie night she and her friends were going to. You're only 12. But all the other kids' parents are letting them. Haylin protested. Even Jade's uncle is letting her go and she's 12 too. All of them. Her mother asked for confirmation. Yeah, Haylin tried, only for both parents to shake her head, causing Haylin to pout. This was going to be harder than she thought. Meridian. They spotted the rebel leader near the portal. Daolan Wang informed Phobos as the Dark Kai enforcers had returned after failing to catch Caleb. Why did the fools not follow him? Phobos exclaimed as he petted a snake-like creature curled around his arm. He took a taxi. Finn laughed nervously. Kid drove like someone out of a Die Hard movie. Chow said. Speaking of movies, think we can get a break? Ratso asked. Vance Michael Justin's new movie is playing. This only served to irritate Phobos as he used his own magics to increase the size of his snake creature as he threw it to the ground. In less than a second, it was twice as big as Cedric in his own transformed state. Finn, Ratso, and Chow could only scream as the monster lunged down to bite and poof the Dark Kai enforcers. Those 3 are pathetic. Phobos muttered. My prince, I shall take the tracker and cross the veil myself. Wang said. We'll find the boy and remove him from our side once and for all. Go but take reinforcements. Phobos told him. Just in case you run into Chan and the Guardians again. Earth, Chan residence. After borrowing a spell book from Uncle's library, Jade sat in her room, attempting to prepare her own spell that should solve her current problem. It's not much, just 2 years. She said as she poured a little magical elixir into a vial to mix with another potion. Hopefully by then I'll gain an extra foot at least. After mixing the spell thoroughly, it gave a small poof, indicating it was ready. Jade then poured the potion on top of her head, where it soaked into her body. She looked at herself after a couple of seconds, only to see she was still the same age and height. Oh, come on, work already. She heard a knock on her door. Just a second. Jade quickly hid the spellbook and her supplies before opening the door. Hey Jackie. Jade, if you're planning on going to this movie, you need to stay with the others at all times. Jackie told her. Since when do I ever go off on my own? Jade asked, only for Jackie's eyelids to lower. You know, when there's not a magical mission involved. Jackie sighed. Just be careful. Careful's my middle name, Jade said as she ran out the door. Meanwhile, Caleb did his best to steer the taxi while avoiding crashing it into the other cars on the street. While he had the basic idea on how to drive a car, Jackie had yet to teach him road laws. It was really a miracle Caleb wasn't currently being chased by any police cars, even as he ended up circling back the way he came, right near the alleyway behind the theater before stopping to get outside and regain his senses, but also get out of the repulsing stench of Blanc's vomit that soaked up the entire back seat. More, Blanc exclaimed, almost like a child getting off a roller coaster. Blanc, not throw up again. Promise. Caleb opened the backseat's door to let Blanc get out. I'll just call Jackie and have Section 13 take care of this, he said in frustration, only to look in completely surprise as a portal suddenly revealed itself near the far end of the alleyway. Caleb could just barely see some silhouettes coming out of the portal, revealing themselves to be Daolan Wang, alongside the tracker with his bloodhound, Sniffer. Caleb immediately ran from the portal, positive he couldn't take those two on by himself. Blanc followed him, but not before grabbing the air freshener from the taxi. Snack for later. He ran to catch up with Caleb just as the Dark Wizard and his minions stepped out of the portal fully. Run all you like, boy. Wang sneered. You cannot escape the tracker, he stated as Sniffer gave an eerie howl for emphasis. Lair residence. Babysit. But the premiere's tonight. Irma protested as her parents were ready to leave the house. So's the patrolman's ball, Mrs. Laird told her daughter as she and her husband walked out the door. Have your brother in bed by 8. Irma could only sigh in reluctance as she saw her 8-year-old brother Chris zoom through the living room and the kitchen on his tricycle, crashing, knocking down multiple items all across the floor, even running over Irma's foot, much to her irritation. I gotta find some sitter, to cover for me. Irma was already on the phone when she heard her doorbell ring. She opened it to reveal Caleb and Blanc outside, much to her surprise, and it looks like they both ran half a marathon. Saw your parents leave, Caleb said, out of breath. Just need a place to hide, a couple hours. Irma smirked, having found her sucker. Come right in. She closed the door as she saw Caleb looking out the window. What happened to you? Nothing much, we just have a Meridian search party after us. Caleb answered causally. What? Irma exclaimed, getting back on her phone. I better warn the others. No. I ditched them, Caleb assured as Chris continued to ride his tricycle around the living room. You sure? Irma asked. Please, the tracker. Caleb dismissed. Even with Daolan Wang, it's like outwitting a 6-year-old. Right on cue, Chris ran over Caleb's foot on his tricycle. Ow. Chris, Caleb, Chris. Irma introduced. Your doggy stinks, Chris said upon seeing Blanc sitting at the coach with the TV remote in his mouth. Blanc isn't a dog, Chris, he's a, Irma said as she saw Blanc accidentally turn on the TV and hide behind the coach, apparently never having seen a TV before. A costumed miniature clown, yeah. She wrote down a brief list of the rules and handed it to Caleb. Bedtime's at 8, here are the rules, bye-bye. She immediately left the house, leaving Caleb and Blanc alone with the toddler as he ran over Caleb's foot once again. All the other girls had met up outside the Silver Dragon, waiting for Lin to come out and join them. You guys are lucky your mom and Uncle Jackie aren't as strict as Lin's folks. Terani told Will and Jade. She's fine, so long as my grades are good, Will said. Yeah, same with Jackie. Jade agreed. Just as long as I stay with the group. She used air quotes for emphasis. Lin quickly hurried out the door. Hurry, before they change their minds, she exclaimed as she and the other girls ran down the sidewalk toward the theater just as Lin's parents came out. Lin, be careful. Her father called to her. Be safe, and stick together. Her mother called out as well. I'll be fine, Lin called back as they continued to run, but quickly stopped once they heard Lin's cell phone ring, which she answered. Hello, Dad. She turned around to see her father with his own cell phone. Just checking. The 6 girls made it to the tether to find dozens of other kids all in line, and nearly every single one of them wore some kind of costume like a knight, a prince or a princess, a troll, or some other form of magical creature, with the exception of seemingly all the J-Witch. We're the only ones who didn't dress up. Will observed. Correction, you're the only ones. Cornelia took off her coat to reveal a costume of a fancy dress that a princess would wear. Somehow, I'm not surprised. Jade's eyelids lowered. Yeah, this girl never misses a chance to be a princess. Terani agreed. Lair residence. As Blunk found himself practically hypnotized by the television, Caleb did his best to keep the brat known as Chris from destroying the house any further as the 8-year-old played hockey with the fishbowl. Whoa, Chris. Enough fish hockey. Caleb stated. You know what's fun? Sitting still. Chris only smirked evilly as he pucked the fishbowl into the air, which Caleb was able to barely catch while sliding on the floor, only for Chris to jump and skate off his back. Meanwhile, as the 6 girls continued to wait in line, Aylin's cell phone rang yet again, which she promptly answered. Yeah, Dad, she said impatiently. I'm even more okay than I was 9 minutes ago. Will, however, felt a very familiar pulsing in her coat pocket, which caught Aylin's attention. Your mom. But it was not Will's cell phone pulsating, but rather the heart of Kandrakar. Worse. It's the forces of darkness calling. Not far down the road, Sniffer tried to catch the trail of the young rebel as he sniffed the street, and soon found a familiar scent coming from underneath a car, which Daolan Wong telekinetically lifted with his dark magic as the tracker picked up the item in question, the half-eaten air freshener from the taxi Blunk and Caleb used before. And what do we have here? Wong mused with an evil grin. The scent of the pasling, the tracker answered with a hiss. Daolan Wong snickered. I chose wisely when I made you. I created you from the bodies of the greatest hunters and trackers in all of Meridian, and now you serve my whim. Now, find that pasling. Wherever he is, the young rebel will surely be. Meanwhile, Will showed the heart of Kandrakar to the other girls, where they all gave gasp as they saw Wong, the tracker, and Sniffer in it. Is that who I think it is? Will asked in surprise. Quick, hide. Terani stated as she saw the dark wizard and his zombified tracker turning around the corner. The 6 girls turned their backs, hoping to blend in with the crowd so that neither Daolan Wong nor the tracker would notice them as they passed by. Fortunately, since Sniffer was focused solely on Blunk's trail, neither his master nor the Dark Kai wizard noticed the 6 girls. Though a few of the kids in line gave some awes and compliments on their costumes, which they elected to ignore as they walked past the streets. Don't know what the auntie-uncle and zombie boy are up to, but it can't be good. Jade observed. They saw the villains turn the corner. What's in that direction? Cornelia asked. Irma's eyes widened. Caleb and Blunk, babysitting Chris. You left your little brother with them. Will exclaimed. With a dark wizard and zombie tracker on their tail. Now that's just cruel. Terani said. To Caleb and Blunk, Aylin joked, adding a little bit of humor in this otherwise tense situation. Uncle's rare finds. Jackie had walked into the back room of the shop where Uncle and Toru were working on a spell. I just got off the phone with Captain Black. We might have a possible location narrowed down on where Cedric may be hiding in Heatherfield. We've also been trying to do the same thing with Sensei's spells. Toru informed Jackie. But we've been unsuccessful so far. Daolan Wong must have placed his own Dark Kai spell to protect Cedric's location from good magic. Uncle assumed. Jackie soon heard his cell phone ring and quickly answered it. Hello, Will. Wait, what? Why are they? Why is Caleb with? Okay, we'll handle it. He hung up. Daolan Wong and the tracker are in the city. They are heading for Irma's house where she left Caleb. Iya, what is foolish rebel boy thinking? Uncle exclaimed. Daolan Wong and the tracker together, that can't be good. Toru was already on his feet. Then we had better get going before they reach their destination. Jackie said as the trio left the shop. Will just hung up her phone. Alright, Jackie's on his way. I also called Grandma and she said she'd try to get to Caleb and help him out with Chris. Aylin hung up her own phone as well. Jade gave a slight scoff. We can just take care of those 2 guys ourselves. Just guardian up and Heya. She gave a roundhouse kick for emphasis. Jade, you're not a guardian, remember? Terani reminded, but once she got another good look at Jade, the bespectacled girl looked in minor confusion. But, is it just me or, have you gotten taller in the last few minutes? Wait, I am. Jade asked in elated surprise as she pulled out a tape measure, which she just so happened to have on hand, and quickly measured her own height. 2 whole inches. I'm getting older. My grow-up spell's working. Grow-up spell, Will exclaimed in surprise as the other girls looked at Jade in shock. You cast a spell on yourself? Terani questioned. What? You like Clint Eastwood so much you wanna be just as old as him? Irma questioned as well. No. Just a few years. Jade stated. I'm sick of constantly being treated like a kid. Because you are a kid, Jade. Will told her, sounding somewhat disapprovingly. Can't believe you actually mess with magic. I mean, you know how dangerous that stuff is. And you actually want to be older. Haylin questioned as well. I'd kill to be kid for a few more years. Well, I mean not everyone can pull of such a fab body. Cornelia said, sounding quite shallow, only to get elbowed in the arm by Will. Ow. Look, forget it, alright. Jade stated, now that I'm older, I can help kick evil butt. We already called Jackie. Will told Jade, who was now just as tall as Will herself. He, Uncle, and Toru are on it. Yeah, between them against Wong and the tracker, I think they'll be fine. Terani said. Ah. Jade pouted as she simply looked away with crossed arms. Daolan Wong walked alongside the tracker as Sniffer continued to follow the trail near a large construction site. We are getting close. Wong sneered. Nobody can hide from my tracker. Suddenly, a van zoomed in from around the corner and came to an immediate halt in front of the villains. The doors quickly opened to reveal Jackie Chan, Toru, and Uncle as they got out and ready for a fight. Whatever it is that you two are looking for, you will not find it. Jackie stated. Leave Earth now or face the consequences. Sniffer growled, along with the tracker himself. However, Daolan Wong merely chuckled. So, Jackie Chan chooses to stand in our way yet again. Unfortunately for you, this wasn't entirely unexpected. Gone. Ren. Kui. Daolan Wong had summoned the Dark Kai enforcers by his side, but they weren't the only ones. All the shadows in the area moved in from all around and surrounded the group before they materialized to reveal at least 24 different Shotokan. But it didn't stop with just them. Wong threw his scepter up in the air, creating a massive plume of dark blue smoke as he had actually summoned the massive Cyclops beast known as Gargoyle, who roared for emphasis. Aiya, Uncle uttered in fear as even Toru gulped. Bad day. Jackie muttered. Lair residence. The house was in a state of complete chaos as Chris jumped up and down on the couch in the mess of a living room. At the same time, Blanc ran around the room, carrying an expensive-looking vase. Blanc, put that vase down. Caleb exclaimed, only to look even more frustrated as Chris ran with Blanc riding on the boy's shoulders and balancing the vase on his head. Chris, put that Blanc down. The two however ended up tripping and sent the vase flying through the air, which Caleb was able to barely catch before it would shatter on the ground. There was a sudden knock on the door. Guys, cool it, that could be the tracker and his wizard pal. Caleb told the two. While Blanc ran to hide, Chris actually looked excited. A wizard. Yay. A wizard's here. A wizard's here. Chris ran to the door and opened it. No. Caleb tried to stop him, but when Chris opened the door, it was revealed to actually be Yan Lin. Are you a wizard? Chris asked. Worse. Yan Lin answered as she walked into house. A grandma. Back at the movie theater, Will looked into the heart of Kandrakar and saw the troubled Jackie, Uncle, and Toru were all in, practically facing a small army of enemies. Uh-oh, they're in trouble. Will said as the other girls saw it as well. What are we waiting for then? Let's go help them. Hey Lin stated. And lose our place in line. Cornelia questioned. Seriously. Irma, Terani, and even Jade's eyelids lowered. I'm just saying, do we all have to go? Cornelia asked. Will sighed as she rubbed a hand down her face. Fine, you can stay Cornelia, just so you can keep an eye on Jade. What? Jade questioned. Don't act so surprised, you cast a spell on yourself just to make yourself older. How do you know there aren't any side effects? Even Terani seemed to agree. If you keep aging till you're as old as grandma. Hey Lin added. Or you age even further until you're dust in a jar. Irma pointed out. But I can, Jade tried to protest. No arguments, Jade. Will said sternly. Cornelia, make sure she doesn't run off. Handcuff her to your wrist if you have to. Yeah, alright. Cornelia kept a firm grip on Jade's wrist. Ah. Jade moaned. You're starting to sound like Jackie. I'll take that as a compliment. Will smirked as she, Lin, Terani, and Irma left the line and turned down one alleyway as Will took out the heart of Kandrakar and said the magic words once more. Guardians unite. Jackie, Toru, and Uncle ran into a large and vacant construction site as the behemoth known as Gargoyle kicked down a fence, allowing the tracker, Dark Kai enforcers, and the Shotokan to pour in, where the most agile all jumped and landed in front of the Chan clan trio to engage in hand-to-hand combat. Several Shotokan punched and kicked at Jackie, forcing him on the defensive as he tried to block and parry their attacks, while several more attempted to pile on top of Toru, as he tried to shrug them off with his physical strength. Uncle took out his blowfish to blast and zap any Shotokan that approached him into oblivion with Kai magic, only to be blasted back by a bolt of Dark Kai magic. Novice. Wong sneered as he approached the downed wizard. If your master cannot defeat me, what hope do you have? Suddenly Uncle's foot shot up to Wong's face, knocking him back as Uncle was back up on his feet. Because old Dark Wizard doesn't have knowledge of martial arts. Uncle stated. Now, do you want a piece of Uncle? He made a combat stance as Wong narrowed his eyes and opened fire with his dark scepter. Meanwhile, Toru and Jackie found themselves back to back as they tried to push back against the Shotokan, only to be blasted back by Ratso with his magic hammer to send them both flying onto the ground. Suddenly Toru's wrists were ensnared by a magic flail courtesy of the tracker as he pulled the large sumo down onto the ground while Sniffer pinned Jackie down and growled. "Ha, ha, nice doggy," Jackie laughed nervously. "Do you want a treat?" However, before Sniffer could even bite down onto Jackie, Will suddenly flew in from behind her guardian form, grabbed the hound by his tail and spun him around before sending him flying into a group of Shotokan that vanished. Lin also came in to blow a gust of wind and knock Finn, Ratso, and Chow back while Irma shot her hands to blast Tracker back with a stream of water as Terani flew in and threw a fireball at Gargoyle's eye, forcing the giant monster backwards, deeper in the construction site. The four guardians flew down and helped Jackie and Toru get back up. "Sorry to make you do our work for us, Jackie," Will said. "We didn't know it'd be so bad. There is nothing wrong with asking for help," Jackie assured. "Thank you for coming." "Hey, it's what friends do." Lin beamed. "However, we are going to have a talk about you laving Caleb and Blunk at your house, Irma," Jackie said seriously to the girl who winced. "Yeah, my bad," Irma said. Toru looked around and noticed that two certain girls were missing from this group. "Where are Jade and Cornelia?" "Don't ask," Terani replied. Back at the theater, as Jade and Cornelia continued to wait in line, the self-proclaimed older girl hadn't stopped complaining. "This is so unfair. I'm finally older, so why doesn't everyone take me seriously?" Jade questioned. "Because you messing around with magic just to get older was incredibly reckless," Cornelia replied. Jade scoffed. "You're one to talk, miss. Oh, I just have to fall in love with Rebel Boy because I'm so pretty blonde." "First, I do not sound like that," Cornelia argued. "Second, that's got nothing to do with this. At least I'm not stupid enough to play with magic. You grow plants and move rocks with your mind. Of course, you play with magic," Jade argued back. "I only use magic in a fight," Cornelia exclaimed. "You think I'm shallow? I'm not the one who's trying to skip over her childhood just to feel appreciated." "Well, Jade's retorted didn't fall through as she suddenly gripped her stomach, causing Cornelia to look in worry. "Jade, are you alright?" The blonde disregarded their argument and kneeled down to help her groaning friend. She helped her back up to her feet as Jade continued to hold her stomach. "What, did you drink the spell or something?" "No, I poured it on my head," Jade groaned. I really don't feel so good. And that's what we've tried to tell you," Cornelia muttered as she tried to help Jade move through the line, much to the frustration of the other kids. Sorry. Got a sick friend." She made it to the door and knocked on it, which an administrator opened. "The movie's not ready yet." "I know, but my friend isn't feeling well, we just need to get the bathroom," Cornelia stated as Jade continued to groan. "Alright, bring her in." The administrator let Cornelia bring Jade inside. Cornelia helped Jade into the women's bathroom, which fortunately didn't have anyone else inside. Once they were in, Cornelia turned around to lock the door, but as she did, Jade's body began to glow with a faint orange aura. When Cornelia turned around, she could only gasp as she saw Jade had grown, not in age, but in size, and was already 15 feet tall. "Cornelia, do I look older to you?" Jade asked, more so nervously as she looked at her own body. "No, but you're definitely bigger," Cornelia stuttered as Jade looked into the mirror to see her changed stature. Jade gave an annoyed scoff. "This is so not the growing up I had in mind." Cornelia rubbed her forehead in annoyance. "Maybe you should have actually read the spell before you used it." Suddenly, Jade's body began to glow again, causing her to back up as he actually began to grow in size even more. But since the bathroom itself was so small, Jade ended up tripping and falling back, causing the wall to break down as Jade stumbled backwards out of the building and into the alleyway behind the theater. Jade chuckled nervously as Cornelia ran out through the hole and looked in even further shock to see Jade was now at least 30 feet tall. Whoops. Cornelia groaned even further until a flash of blue light caught hers and Jade's attention, as they looked further down the alleyway to find an open portal, the same one Wong and the tracker used to travel to Earth. "Well, at least we know how the bad guys came here," the giant Jade said as she stood back up. "Now come on, Jackie and Will. You're not serious, are you?" Cornelia exclaimed. "You're not even supposed to." "I know I'm not a guardian or anything," Jade exclaimed. "But don't you think it'd be easier if I used this to help our friends? Every time I want to help, I always hear you guys and Jackie saying, 'It's too dangerous, you're not old enough, is it wrong that I want to help?'" Cornelia sighed. "There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, look, Jackie's your uncle, your family, so of course he's going to be protective of you. You want to help, that's fine, but you also have to be responsible. And that means you can't sneak off or use magic as a shortcut. That's kind of what growing up is." This seemed to calm Jade down, as she sighed and realized Cornelia was right. And it wasn't just with this, she had been doing this all the time where she snuck off to try and help Jackie. And while she has helped at times, it's more so gotten her into even more trouble than normal, case in point being stuck in the netherworld with Shendu's siblings. "Okay, maybe I can try to be a bit more responsible," Jade admitted. "Good." Cornelia smiled slightly. "And the first step is turning your little mishap into an advantage to help our friends." "But, what about?" the giant Jade asked. "It's just a movie," Cornelia dismissed. "Even if we miss the premiere, we can just see it some other weekend or something, friends are more important." The blonde smirked. "Now, what do you say we go kick some evil butt?" Jade smirked back as she offered her large hand for Cornelia to climb on as Jade put her older friend on her right shoulder. "You even need to ask." Back at the construction site, Will parried the punches and kicks from some nearby Shotokan as Jackie did the same while the two came back to back when they were surrounded by at least 10 of them. The two exchanged looks as they nodded right when the Shotokan all leapt at them. Jackie ducked as Will flew slightly over him for a 360-degree roundhouse kick with her superior strength to knock all the Shotokan back. Meanwhile, Uncle and Daolon Wong both appeared to be locked in a duel as Uncle blasted good Kai magic from his blowfish while Wong blasted dark Kai magic from his scepter and the two recited their respective chants, but the duel came to an end as Gargoyle loomed over Uncle and roared at the old man. Uncle gasped as he was forced to end his duel early and quickly run to avoid being crushed by Gargoyle's massive foot. Wong laughed as he witnessed Gargoyle chasing the rival wizard. "Yes. Crush him, Gargoyle. Crush that fledgling novice into paste." Wong's laughing was cut off by a blast of water from Irma that sent him skidding across the ground. "You wanna talk about paste, just look at your skin," Irma commented. "I mean, have you even heard of moisturizer?" She then flew up to assist the fleeing uncle as she quickly flew in front of the pursuing gargoyle to blast a stream of water in the monster's face and cause it to stumble back, but this only served to irritate Gargoyle as it swatted its hand to knock down Irma into Uncle on the ground. At the same time, Toru had picked up a steel pipe as he used it to parry the strikes from Chao's own staff, while on the defensive as Hei Lin flew down to blow a gust of wind to literally blow Chao back. "Hei Lin, duck." Toru pulled Hei Lin down in time to avoid being decapitated by Finn's spinning blade which he threw out before it returned to Finn like a boomerang. Hei Lin breathed a huge sigh of relief. "Thanks, Big T. Need a haircut?" Finn cracked as he and Ratso charged at them both. However, Terani landed in front of them to halt their advance as she threw a series of fireballs at them, while she also controlled the flames themselves and manipulated them to form a ring of fire around the two Dark Kai enforcers and trap them. "What's the matter? Can't take the heat?" Terani joked. However, the flames were quickly blasted away as Ratso slammed his hammer onto the ground to create a large shockwave that not only blew away the flames, but also knocked back Terani, Heilin, and Toru quite a bit. Meanwhile, as Will and Jackie dealt with the last of the Shotokan, the two suddenly found themselves entangled by the flail belonging to Tracker as he pulled it down to slam both of them onto the ground as Sniffer pounced at them to keep them pinned, while Jackie and Will each wrenched a free arm to keep the snarling and biting hound at bay. Daolan Wang had recovered as he approached the entangled pair while Tracker kept a firm grip on his flail. A valiant effort, but all in vain, I'm afraid. He opened his hands to reveal a series of fanged mouths in the palms as dark magic began to swirl around them. I may not get the young rebel, but with the power of the heart of Kandrakar flowing through my veins, I shall become invincible. Not even Phobos will defy me. However, the ground began to shake, getting the attention of everyone present as they all stopped their fighting only to look in shock to see Jade, who is now 50 feet tall, enter the construction site, with Cornelia riding on her shoulder. "Say hello to my friend Flicker." The giant Jade knelt down to literally flick the Tracker away and send the zombie flying and crashing into a pile of steel girders. With the Tracker disposed of, Will and Jackie were able to free themselves from the flail that entangled both of them, but they could only look in absolute shock at how big Jade was. They were joined by Toru, Irma, Uncle, Heilin, and Terani, who shared jaw-dropped expressions as they saw Jade help Cornelia down onto the ground. "Iya," Uncle muttered. "Got that right," Heilin said with a nod. "Jade," Toru muttered as his jaw had dropped. "I'm guessing that, grow up, spell was taken in a literal sense." Irma muttered to Terani. Cornelia. We'll hope the blonde had some kind of explanation. She wouldn't stop growing." Cornelia merely shrugged. "Jade, what happened to you?" Jackie practically screamed. Daolan Wang growled. This was unexpected, but he wasn't about to give up yet. "Attack. Talk later," Jade said to Jackie as she saw the Dark Kai enforcers running straight at her with their weapons at the ready. "You're going down, Queen Kong," Finn exclaimed. "The bigger they are, the harder they." Ratso was cut off as he, Finn, and Chow were literally stomped out by Jade's foot. "Just call me, Jadezilla," the 50-foot Jade said with a smirk. She looked towards the recovering Tracker and Sniffer that joined Daolan Wang. "Might wanna clear out, Tiny. Oh, perhaps you should be picked upon by something your own size." Wang challenged as Jade and the others heard some large steps from behind, where they all turned around to see Gargoyle roaring challenging at Jade. "Right, forgot about him." Heilin winced. Jade, however, wasn't the least bit initiated. "I got this, guys," she stated as she made a kung fu stance. "You take his little buddies." "Jade," Jackie tried to protest. "Hey, how about we argue later and focus on the bad guys right now?" Cornelia exclaimed as the Tracker roared and unleashed a large swarm of bats from his cloak at the group, which Terani and Heilin tried to force back with blasts of fire and wind respectively. Jackie sighed. "All right, but we are going to talk about this later." "Yes, we are." Will gave Cornelia a small glare before she used the heart's power to transform Cornelia into her guardian form before the 5 guardians, Jackie, and Toru charged at the Tracker and Sniffer, leaving the giant Jade to duke it out with Gargoyle. "Okay, handsome, this town ain't big enough for the both of us," the 50-foot Jade said as she ran at Gargoyle, who tried to punch and grab her, but Jade parried each strike with her own martial arts skills before landing a solid kick to knock the monster back slightly before Gargoyle roared and grappled with Jade, before she ducked underneath its grab to deal yet another kick into Gargoyle's chest and actually knock it down. At the same time, the Tracker's swarm of bats flew around Irma, Heilin, and Terani as they took to the air and kept the swarm at bay with blasts of their respective elements, while Will landed a flying kick on Tracker himself to knock it back. Jackie ran to try and help, but Sniffer was on the attack once more as the hound lunged at Jackie, but Jackie had grabbed a steel pipe from the ground which Sniffer bit on and tried to pull it out of Jackie's hands. Jackie tried to wrestle with the hound as Sniffer seemed to be about as strong as 3 pit bulls put together. The Tracker flew out its flail again to entangle Will's ankle and pull her in, but she didn't struggle alone as Toru came in to grab the chain and used his own strength to pull Gargoyle in, but Gargoyle appeared strong enough to resist Toru's pull, albeit being dragged along the ground as Toru appeared to be slightly stronger even as Will came in to help and pull on the chain. Daolon Wang growled as he saw how easily his own forces were about to be overwhelmed. However, before he could even attack, he turned and looked in surprise to see Uncle preparing a spell. Yumo Gui Gui Fi Di Zhao. Yumo Gui Gui Fi Di Zhao. Yumo Gui Gui Fi Di Zhao. Uncle held a dried lizard in one hand over a brick in the other as he hopped from his left foot to his right and back and forth. Wang realized what he was doing. Stone magic. He telekinetically pulled his own brick into his own hand. I shall immobilize you first. Wang began to mimic Uncle's actions, holding his scepter over the brick he was using, reciting his own dark chant, while hopping from his left foot to his right and back to his left. As they both activated their spells, a bolt of green Kai magic shot from Uncle's brick, right at the same time a blue bolt of dark Kai magic shot from Wang's brick. Both bolts intercepted each other before reflecting back onto the respective users. This resulted in both Uncle and Wang being immobilized in the exact same stance, standing on their left and right leg respectively as they could only move their eyes and couldn't even talk. Meanwhile, the giant Jade was forced back to an old and abandoned building as Gargoyle ran towards her, but the large girl pulled the fire escape from the old building and used it as a makeshift weapon to slam against Gargoyle's face. In case of an emergency, use the fire escape. She pressed forward with her makeshift weapon, forcing Gargoyle back as Cornelia landed behind the monster. Cornelia then used her own powers to raise two large roots which entangled each other, creating a trip trap that Gargoyle tripped back on as Jade pressed forward, causing the giant monster to fall back onto a wrecking ball vehicle. The vehicle itself was crushed, but the wrecking ball was sent flying up briefly before it fell back down and crushed the large stone hand on the beast, reducing its entire right hand to rubble as Gargoyle roared in agony. Ooh, Cornelia winced. That's gotta hurt. Well, this is a construction site. Jade cracked. At the same time, Lin had created a large tornado around herself, Terani and Irma to protect themselves from the bat swarm, but their defense turned into an offense as Irma and Terani threw their water and fire into the tornado, creating a powerful and deadly vortex to kill all the bats that were surrounding them. Jackie meanwhile was pinned to the ground, using the steel pipe to keep the snarling Sniffer back, but he wouldn't have to worry as Irma flew down to blast Sniffer back with a stream of water. At the same time, Will and Toru continued their game of tug of war with the tracker, but the combined strength of the red-haired guardian and the sumo was enough to overpower the tracker, and with a single heave, the zombified hunter was pulled in as Toru and Will both dealt a single punch to the tracker's face and send the monster flying along with Sniffer into the immobilized Daolon Wang, knocking down all three of them, and even the immobilized uncle as well. Will, Jackie, Irma, Terani, Toru, Cornelia, and Lin, as well as the 50-foot-tall Jade approached the downed group of villains as Jade picked up the immobilized Dark Wizard. Now I know what you're thinking, punk. Jade began, putting on a Clint Eastwood impression. But they're the good guys, they wouldn't hurt a fly. Cornelia flew up beside Jade with a smirk as she spoke next. But, seeing how many times you've tried to kill us, and as you are right now, you probably got like one good spell left in the tank, you gotta ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do ya, punk? Jade asked as well. Wang used this as his cue, and while he was still immobilized, he used his only remaining spell to teleport himself, Tracker, Sniffer, and even the single-handed Gargoyle away from the area. Guess he wasn't feeling lucky. Jade observed. But I thought you hated Clint Eastwood. She said to Cornelia. I said I liked Vance Michael Jackson, I didn't say I didn't like Clint Eastwood. Cornelia smirked as she and the 50-foot-tall Jade exchanged a high five. Well, looks like we won. Lin stated. Yeah, but we probably missed the movie. Will observed. Perhaps then you could likely provide an explanation as to why my niece is 50 feet tall. Jackie asked. It's my fault, Jackie. Jade said for the others. How about you explain it as I concoct an antidote? Toru proposed. She isn't the only one. Irma said as she picked up the still immobilized uncle. Actually, can we leave him like that? Cornelia asked. I think I'll like him better this way. Ow. She felt a slap on her forehead as uncle was somehow able to deliver his traditional dope slap to her, despite being immobilized. Sometime later, Toru and Yan Lin were able to make a Kai spell antidote that not only returned Jade to her normal size, but also restored Uncle's maneuverability. Jade and Cornelia told Will where to find the portal Wong and the tracker used to get to Meridian, which she sealed, while Cornelia used her earth powers to fix the hole in the wall Jade accidentally made as she grew in size. By the time Jade had given an explanation to Jackie, the group were outside Irma's house with Caleb as she looked inside to see her younger brother finished cleaning up the mess he had made. "What did you do? Cast some old Kai spell on him?" Irma asked Yan Lin. "Nah, ancient grandma trick, cookie bribe," Yan Lin answered, "which I also used to ensure that he tells your parents that it was you who watched him all night, instead of Caleb." "Thanks, ow." Irma felt her forehead where Uncle Dope slapped her. What was girl thinking? Leaving reckless rebel at home with forces of darkness tracking him? Uncle questioned. "Who are you calling reckless, ow?" Caleb was also dope slapped by Uncle. How is rebel boy foolish enough to think he can outwit dark wizard and tracker, while also carrying a smelly passling? Uncle exclaimed, referring to Blunk who only smiled apologetically. "Sorry I got a little big for my britches guys." Jade apologized before she too was dope slapped by Uncle. "Ow. So that's what it feels like," she said, as that was actually the first time Uncle had given her a dope slap. "Magic is not to be trifled with," Uncle stated. "It is used to battle evil, not pubescence. I'm sorry, I guess I just felt if I was a little older, you guys would take me seriously," Jade confessed. Jackie sighed. "Jade, I know, I was irresponsible, and it wasn't the first time," Jade acknowledged. "Cornelia already told me. But I promise, I'm gonna try to be more responsible from now on." Jackie could tell that Jade was honest and truly meant what she said. "And perhaps I can stop being so strict from time to time. So, if you promise to be truly careful, I may let you accompany me and the girls on certain missions." "Really?" Jade exclaimed with a hopeful smile. "As long as you promise to be careful," Jackie said before turning to the others. "And that you all promise to watch over her as well as yourselves." All 6 of the girls looked at each other with smiles and nods before they raised their hands in the form of a Scout's honor salute. "We promise," they all said at the same time. "But first, perhaps we could enjoy that movie you missed," Jackie proposed. "I'll take you all tomorrow morning and I'll even buy the tickets." That earned wide smiles from all the girls present. "Uncle Jackie, you're the best," Lin exclaimed as she, and all the others, including Jade, practically leapt at Jackie with a group hug, while Toru, Yan Lin, Caleb, even Uncle and Blanc had small smiles. And it's the end of part 6 of this What If. I hope you guys like it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.